My beloved child. Stop scrolling for just a moment. There is a reason your eyes stopped here instead of somewhere else. You may think it was coincidence, but heaven often whispers through moments that seem ordinary. What you are about to hear is a fictional inspirational message, yet if it awakens hope, courage, or peace inside your heart, let it stay with you. Stay until the end, because every sentence leads to something greater than the one before it. Perhaps you almost kept moving. Perhaps your finger was already prepared to swipe away. But something gentle asked you to pause. Something quiet invited your spirit to listen before your mind could explain why. There are moments when the soul recognizes a message long before the eyes understand it. This may be one of those moments. Do not rush. Do not let distractions steal these next few moments. Something meaningful is unfolding, and every heartbeat carries you closer to a revelation that has been waiting with remarkable patience. I have watched you carry questions that you never spoke aloud. I have seen the silent conversations you held with your own heart after everyone else believed you were smiling. I have seen the nights when you stared into darkness, wondering whether someone somewhere still remembered your name with kindness. You wondered if love had forgotten the road back to you. You wondered if the chapters that ended were simply the final pages of your story. You wondered whether hope was becoming too heavy to carry. Yet even in those moments, your story continued moving in ways your eyes could not perceive. Today, there is something that must be shared. Not because time is running out in fear, but because timing itself matters. There are messages that arrive too early and become misunderstood. There are messages that arrive too late and become regrets. Then there are messages that arrive at exactly the right moment. This is written as though heaven itself paused to whisper into your heart, not to frighten you, but to remind you that even when life feels confusing, purpose has never abandoned you. Stay with these words. Do not skip ahead. Something beautiful is waiting beyond what you expect. There is someone whose heart has carried thoughts they never managed to place into words. Their silence has often spoken louder than conversations. Their distance has hidden feelings that even they struggle to understand. Many believe silence means absence. Sometimes silence means the heart is learning a language it has never spoken before. Sometimes the deepest emotions become trapped behind uncertainty. Imagine standing beside a shoreline before sunrise. The ocean appears still. Nothing seems to move. Yet beneath the surface, powerful currents are already changing the direction of everything. So it has been with this connection. Much has happened beyond what your eyes could witness. While you questioned whether anything was changing, unseen transformations quietly unfolded. Every disappointment shaped wisdom. Every delay refined patience. Every unanswered question prepared a future answer. You believed certain moments were endings. Some of them were only pauses. Some were bridges disguised as walls. Some were blessings wearing the clothing of disappointment. You have often asked why doors closed just when you thought they would finally open. The answer was never punishment. Sometimes the path ahead required you to become someone stronger before receiving what your heart desired. Strength is rarely built during comfort. Compassion is rarely discovered without longing. Faith is rarely understood without waiting. You have grown in ways you never noticed. Even your tears became teachers. Even your loneliness planted seeds. Even your unanswered prayers continued rising long after you stopped speaking them. Nothing sincere was ever wasted. Every hope found its place. Every whisper found its listener. And now another page begins to turn. Listen carefully. There is something remarkable about hearts that continue believing after disappointment. They shine differently. They forgive differently. They love differently. You became that kind of heart. Not because life was easy. Because you refused to let hardship define your ability to care. That quiet strength reached farther than you imagined. There are moments when one soul unknowingly encourages another simply by refusing to stop becoming kind. You never realized how many invisible moments your compassion created. You never saw the people who smiled because you smiled first. You never heard the silent gratitude of those whose burdens felt lighter after meeting you. You never understood how your smallest kindness echoed farther than your greatest achievements. Nothing loving disappears. It continues traveling long after the moment has passed. That is one of heaven's quiet mysteries. Love multiplies even when unnoticed. Hope expands even while unseen. Light continues shining even after the one holding it believes the flame has grown small. There is another mystery. Sometimes two journeys move separately not because they are disconnected, but because both are still being prepared. One learns patience. The other learns courage. One discovers forgiveness. The other discovers honesty. One releases fear. The other releases pride. Only then do both finally recognize the road before them. If they had met too early, neither would have understood the gift standing before them. Timing protects what rushing would have broken. That truth has comforted countless hearts throughout every generation. Do not measure your journey against anyone else's. Every soul grows according to seasons invisible to human eyes. Winter never argues with spring. Night never competes with morning. Each arrives exactly when it should. Perhaps this is why your story never unfolded according to your plans. Your plans saw only the next step. The greater story saw every chapter. You feared delay. The greater story saw preparation. You feared silence. The greater story heard quiet healing. You feared distance. The greater story recognized growth. You feared uncertainty. The greater story called it becoming. There is someone whose own journey has also been changing. Not through dramatic signs that everyone noticed. Through quiet realizations. Small awakenings. Gentle reflections. Unexpected moments that interrupted ordinary days. Perhaps they heard a familiar song. Perhaps they passed a familiar place. Perhaps they watched strangers laughing together and suddenly remembered something they believed they had forgotten. Memory has a remarkable way of arriving without invitation. Certain names carry echoes. Certain smiles remain long after conversations end. Certain connections quietly return whenever the heart grows still enough to listen. You cannot force such moments. You cannot schedule them. You cannot predict them. They simply arrive. And when they do, they often change everything that follows. Many people spend years searching outside themselves for answers already growing within. Eventually, stillness becomes the teacher that noise never could become. The loudest truth is often spoken in complete silence. Have you noticed how the most meaningful moments of your life rarely announce themselves beforehand? The greatest friendships often began with ordinary conversations. The strongest faith often began with honest questions. The deepest peace often arrived after the greatest uncertainty. The greatest transformations usually begin quietly. That is why many overlook them. They expect lightning. Instead, they receive dawn. They expect thunder. Instead, they hear a whisper. Yet whispers often change lives more deeply than storms. Continue listening. Do not leave now. Something even more meaningful is approaching. If your heart has ever wondered whether it was truly seen, hear this. Every sincere act of love leaves an imprint upon eternity. Every act of forgiveness changes not only another person, but the one who forgives. Every choice toward compassion creates possibilities invisible in the moment. You may never fully understand the value of your gentleness until one day you see how many broken places it quietly helped restore. Do not underestimate quiet goodness. The world often celebrates loud victories. Heaven notices faithful hearts. You have carried disappointments that almost convinced you to become colder. Yet you chose kindness again. You chose hope again. You chose faith again. Those choices mattered more than you realize. Now imagine someone else reaching a similar crossroads. Imagine them remembering conversations once forgotten. Imagine them seeing old moments through wiser eyes. Imagine understanding arriving where confusion once lived. Growth changes perspective. Time reveals hidden meanings. What once looked ordinary begins shining with unexpected significance. Perhaps that is happening even now. Not through coincidence. Through reflection. The heart matures by remembering differently. There are words left unsaid. There are emotions still unfolding. There are truths waiting for their proper moment. You have been wondering whether everything meaningful already happened. The answer may surprise you. Some of life's most beautiful conversations begin after long silence. Some of the strongest reconciliations begin after honest reflection. Some of the brightest mornings arrive after the darkest nights. Never mistake waiting for abandonment. Never mistake quietness for emptiness. Never mistake delayed answers for forgotten prayers. Every season has purpose. Even this one. Especially this one. Take another deep breath and remain here. The next part of this story moves closer to the hidden message that has quietly formed through every previous sentence. The pieces are beginning to connect. The moments that once seemed unrelated are moving toward one remarkable truth. Something has been changing behind the scenes. Not all at once. Not dramatically. Patiently. Carefully. Almost invisibly. Like the first light before sunrise. Like the first blossom before spring fully arrives. Like the first note before a beautiful melody fills an entire room. Soon, what was hidden will become easier to recognize. Soon, What felt confusing will begin making unexpected sense. Soon, a message long carried in silence will move closer to being understood. But before that happens, there is one truth you must hold tightly. No sincere love is ever completely lost. No genuine kindness disappears. No faithful heart walks unnoticed. Even when roads separate for a season, the lessons learned upon them continue shaping every future step. Your story has not reached its conclusion. It has quietly reached the moment where everything that came before begins revealing why it happened. And just as the final piece seems ready to appear, another whisper arrives. There is one part of the message that has not yet been spoken. One truth that changes the meaning of everything you have heard so far. When that truth is finally revealed, you will understand why this moment felt different from the beginning. But that revelation belongs to the next chapter. The silence you felt at the end of the last moment was never empty. It was the pause before a deeper truth found its way to your heart. Stay with these words. Do not rush past them. Something extraordinary is still unfolding, and every passing sentence carries you closer to a revelation that could change the way you see your entire journey. There are moments when heaven does not answer with thunder but with quiet understanding. The greatest transformations rarely arrive all at once. They come like the first light touching the horizon before sunrise. At first, nothing appears different. Then, little by little, everything begins to glow. You have been searching for signs in places where signs were never meant to appear. You looked for certainty in circumstances, while your spirit was quietly learning to recognize truth in peace. The answers you longed for were never hidden from you out of cruelty. They were being protected until your heart was ready to receive them without fear. Many times, you believed the story had already been written. You thought every closed chapter meant another dream had disappeared forever. Yet what looked like the end was often the beginning of preparation for something far greater than your imagination could design. There is a reason your path has been different from what you expected. There is a reason certain conversations ended before they could become complete. There is a reason certain people entered your life only long enough to teach you something your future would require. Nothing meaningful has been wasted. Even the disappointments became part of your preparation. Even the unanswered questions shaped wisdom inside you. Even the waiting strengthened parts of your spirit that comfort never could. Do not skip this moment. Stay until the end. The next truth builds upon everything you have already heard. There is someone whose heart has been changing in ways they themselves barely understand. They have tried to distract themselves with busy days, familiar routines, and ordinary responsibilities. Yet every so often, something quietly interrupts those routines. A memory. A familiar place. A melody they did not expect to hear. A conversation that reminded them of what truly mattered. They could not explain why those moments lingered longer than they should have. They simply felt different. Sometimes the heart remembers what the mind has tried to organize into neat conclusions. Sometimes love speaks through remembrance instead of words. Sometimes distance becomes the place where understanding finally begins. You have wondered whether your kindness was forgotten. It was not. You have wondered whether your patience mattered. It did. You have wondered whether your prayers disappeared into silence. They never did. Every sincere hope leaves an echo that continues far beyond the moment it was first spoken. That is one of the quiet mysteries of heaven. Nothing born from genuine love simply vanishes. It changes. It grows. It waits. It finds unexpected paths. You have often measured your progress by visible results. But heaven measures differently. It sees every decision to remain compassionate when bitterness seemed easier. It sees every moment you chose forgiveness instead of resentment. It sees every act of faith when certainty was nowhere to be found. Those moments became the foundation for what is now beginning to unfold. There are pieces of your story that only make sense when viewed from above. Looking from the ground, the road twists unexpectedly. Looking from heaven, every turn connects perfectly. That is why trust has always been so precious. Trust allows the next chapter to arrive before the current one fully explains itself. There is another truth you have not yet considered. Sometimes two people spend years preparing for a conversation neither realizes they desperately need. Each season changes them. Each challenge softens something inside them. Each disappointment removes another layer of pride, fear, or misunderstanding. Then, one ordinary day, they find themselves seeing everything through entirely new eyes. The world outside has barely changed. But the heart within has. And that changes everything. Stay with me. The next revelation is closer than ever. There were moments when you believed your story had become invisible. Yet every chapter continued to be written with remarkable care. Not one tear escaped notice. Not one hopeful prayer disappeared unheard. Not one act of quiet love failed to leave its mark. You were never walking alone, even during the days when it felt as though no one understood your journey. Sometimes protection looks like delay. Sometimes guidance feels like uncertainty. Sometimes blessings arrive wearing the clothing of patience. Only later does the heart recognize the gift hidden inside the waiting. You have grown wiser. Not because every answer arrived. Because you continued searching for goodness even when answers delayed. That quiet decision transformed you more deeply than you realize. And now another page slowly opens. Imagine standing before a doorway that has remained closed for many seasons. You wondered whether it would ever open. You questioned whether anything waited beyond it. Then one day you notice something different. Not the door. The light beneath it. The smallest sign. Almost invisible. Yet enough to tell you that something beyond the door has changed. That is where your story stands now. Something beyond what you can currently see has begun moving. You do not yet know every detail. Neither do you need to. Hope does not require complete understanding. It only asks you to keep your heart open long enough for tomorrow to arrive. There is quiet courage in remaining hopeful without demanding immediate proof. There is quiet strength in continuing to believe that meaningful things are still possible. There is quiet beauty in allowing your story to unfold instead of forcing every page. Do not let impatience convince you that nothing is happening. The deepest roots grow where no one can see them. The strongest foundations are built underground before the building ever appears. The brightest dawn begins while the world still believes it is night. These truths have guided countless hearts before yours. Now they are guiding yours. Perhaps that is why you found this message today. Not because every mystery has already been solved, but because your heart needed the reminder that unseen progress is still progress. There is one final thought before this chapter closes. Some messages cannot be understood the first time they are heard. They must settle quietly inside the heart. Only then do they reveal their deepest meaning. As these words settle within you, another truth is already approaching. It is the truth that explains why this message felt so urgent from the beginning. It is the reason the silence, the waiting, the memories, and the hope all connect into one extraordinary revelation. That final piece has not yet been spoken. When it is, everything that seemed separate will suddenly fit together in a way you never expected. And that is where the next chapter begins. My beloved child, before the next truth is uncovered, allow your heart to become still for just a little longer. Do not hurry through this moment. Stay until the very end. There is a reason these words continue finding you, and what comes next will begin to reveal why your journey has never been as ordinary as it appeared. You have spent so much time wondering whether the quiet seasons of your life meant that nothing was changing. Yet while your eyes searched for visible movement, your spirit was being prepared in ways that no earthly measure could ever detect. Every delay refined your character. Every unanswered question deepened your compassion. Every unexpected turn taught you how to recognize hope even when certainty remained hidden. There is beauty in becoming the kind of person who continues to love without demanding immediate results. That kind of heart becomes rare. It learns patience without losing warmth. It learns wisdom without becoming cold. It learns strength without forgetting gentleness. Many people believe that extraordinary moments always announce themselves with unmistakable signs. Yet the greatest turning points often arrive disguised as ordinary days. A familiar sunrise. A simple conversation. A quiet reflection before sleep. These moments appear small, but they quietly redirect entire lives. There is something important you must understand. The story you have been living has never been about reaching one single destination. It has always been about becoming the person who can receive what lies ahead with gratitude instead of fear. Had every answer arrived when you first demanded it, you might never have become the person you are now. Think about how many times you believed you could not continue, yet somehow another sunrise arrived. Think about every season when hope felt distant, yet a small reason to smile appeared exactly when you needed it. Those moments were not accidents. They were reminders that light often arrives in gentle ways before it becomes impossible to ignore. Stay with these words. Do not skip ahead. The next revelation grows from everything that has already been spoken. There is someone whose own heart has been transformed by quiet reflection. They have looked back upon moments they once misunderstood. Conversations they once dismissed now carry new meaning. Memories they believed had faded have begun returning with unexpected clarity. Time has a remarkable way of revealing truths that hurried minds cannot recognize. Sometimes understanding comes long after the moment itself has passed. Sometimes appreciation arrives only after distance teaches the value of what was once close. Sometimes the heart must travel through silence before it becomes brave enough to speak honestly. That is one of the hidden lessons written into many lives. You have wondered whether certain moments mattered. They did. You have wondered whether your kindness was remembered. It was. You have wondered whether the love you gave without expecting anything in return simply disappeared. It never did. Every sincere expression of love leaves a quiet mark upon the hearts it touches. People may not always understand it immediately. They may not always know how to respond. But genuine kindness has a way of returning to memory when it is needed most. There are seasons when people become distracted by the noise of the world. They chase success, approval, certainty, and comfort. Yet eventually many discover that what truly satisfies the soul cannot be measured by any of those things. The heart begins searching again. Not for more possessions. Not for louder achievements. But for peace. For honesty. For meaningful connection. For the quiet feeling of being understood. Those searches often lead people back to moments they once overlooked. Perhaps that is why certain memories have begun awakening again. Not to repeat the past, but to understand it with wiser eyes. You may not yet see the complete picture. That is perfectly all right. No traveler standing halfway across a bridge can fully appreciate the landscape waiting on the other side. Continue walking. Continue trusting. Continue believing that every faithful step still matters. There are blessings that cannot be rushed. There are conversations that cannot be forced. There are realizations that only arrive when hearts have matured enough to receive them. The waiting has never been meaningless. It has been preparation. The silence has never been empty. It has been growth. The uncertainty has never been punishment. It has been an invitation to trust beyond what your eyes could see. Do not allow discouragement to rewrite your story. The chapters that felt the heaviest often contain the seeds of the greatest joy. Even now, while you listen, unseen pieces continue moving into place. Some opportunities begin quietly. Some answers arrive gradually. Some reunions begin with nothing more than a change of perspective. Remember this whenever impatience whispers that nothing is happening. The deepest rivers flow beneath calm surfaces. The tallest trees spend years strengthening roots before anyone admires their height. The brightest stars remain present even when hidden by passing clouds. Truth does not disappear simply because it cannot yet be seen. Hope does not lose its power simply because it requires patience. Love does not lose its value simply because its full meaning takes time to unfold. There is another truth your heart has been waiting to hear. You were never asked to carry every burden by yourself. Whenever you chose kindness instead of resentment, you became lighter. Whenever you released what you could not control, you created room for peace. Whenever you believed that tomorrow could still hold goodness, even after difficult days, your spirit grew stronger. These quiet victories matter more than the world often realizes. The world celebrates loud success. Heaven quietly celebrates faithful hearts. You have become stronger than you know. Not because every challenge disappeared, but because you continued moving forward while carrying them with grace. And now the story approaches another turning point. The moments that once appeared unrelated are slowly drawing together. The memories. The waiting. The unexpected pauses. The quiet hope that refused to disappear. They are beginning to reveal one shared purpose. You may not recognize it fully today. But soon, what once felt scattered will begin forming a picture of remarkable beauty. There is one final thought I want to leave resting within your heart before this chapter closes. Never believe that your story is defined by the chapters that caused you pain. A book is never remembered by a single difficult page. Its meaning is discovered through the entire journey. Your journey is still unfolding. Its brightest pages have not all been written. Its deepest conversations have not all been spoken. Its most meaningful moments have not all arrived. Hold on to hope a little longer. Remain patient a little longer. Keep your heart open a little longer. Because the next part carries the revelation that has been quietly approaching since the very first words of this message. It will begin to uncover why this message felt so important, why the timing mattered, and why every chapter before this one was leading toward a truth that has yet to be fully revealed. The next page is waiting.